Hello and welcome to the Therapy Floor with me, Dr. Ritz.
And me, Dr. Vicky. We are on the floor getting deep into the human experience, unpacking everyday dilemmas through the lenses of two psychologists. Hey guys, welcome back to the Therapy Floor.
So we're back and we're doing things a bit differently because we were kind of asking people, what they kind of thought. It was our first season, we put it out there, really interested to not necessarily get validation, I think.
I think market research.
Yeah, just market research, like
see
how is
people
this
are
landing?
finding it.
How is it landing?
Yeah.
And I think what was quite interesting was how people viewed the time of it, or not the time, the duration, rather. And it was quite split down the middle, I think, that some people are like, I really love a long episode because it's quite nice for like a car journey, or when I'm like doing my cleaning around the house, or when I'm just like giving myself something to watch. And then some other people have kind of said, it would be good if like the dilemmas were separate and like kept per episode. So then I kind of like get to pick and choose a bit more what I want to listen to. So actually we decided that's a really,
we'll try it out.
It's quite a good idea.
We'll try out doing one dilemma per episode and see if people like that or not. And if not, we can always revert back.
Exactly. So
But this is an experiment. We're just kind of like seeing how it goes.
This is it. We're letting it evolve. We're letting it unfold.
Yeah.
There's no end goal of what this is going to look like.
Yeah.
And we're just going with it. So this is what season 2 is going to look like. You're going to get a dilemma per episode. And then if you want to keep listening, then choose another dilemma.
Yeah.
So let's go for today's dilemma then.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one comes in from a lady and she is in her late 30s. And she's saying, I'm struggling with my relationship with my father. Despite being an adult with my own grown-up children, he still treats me like a young child. His lack of respect is evident in the way he frequently makes jokes that belittle me. How can I address this issue and establish a healthier dynamic with my father?
Okay. Interesting that she said dynamic, because I want to know what her response is when he acts like this. I wonder what's her part, or what's her response to it if we're thinking about a dynamic. Because if we're not thinking about a dynamic, we're just labelling this as disrespectful behaviour.
Well, I think that's interesting because that's what she's kind of like getting at, isn't she? So it's the first part is very much, this is what he does to me. And then the second part seems to be, actually, even though he's disrespecting me, I still want a relationship with him. So I want something to change.
Yeah.
And something maybe about like co-creation there.
Yeah.
Which is why I think your question is really powerful.
What's the bit that she's left out, so we can understand the dynamic a bit more? Because it could be, I there are lots of things that are going through my mind. Is the dynamic that he's disrespectful to her, she's disrespectful back? Is she trying to appease him and he's dismissive? Yeah, so I guess we're missing some context there. But my go-to is always going to be have a conversation, which it sounds like she wants to do. She wants to have a conversation. And then it's always good to just say how you feel. This is how I feel in our relationship. This is how I feel when you speak to me in a certain way. I'm just curious, again, curious, the big C word. I'm just curious about what you think of that, what you make of that. Do you realise that's how you make me feel? Could we do something different? That's where I'd go.
Do you realise? I don't see, I'm questioning that, whether he does or he doesn't.
Yeah.
Because he frequently makes jokes. So I wonder if it sounds as though maybe he thinks he's being funny, and it's maybe like, I don't know, in his mind, is it cute? Is it sweet? I'm just making fun of my little girl, or...
Yeah.
But she's saying, he still treats me like a young child, and she tells us I'm a grown-up with children. So almost like trying to prove her point.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a grown-up. I have children of my own.
Yeah.
I'm really an adult here. And yet he's still like treating me like I'm some sort of young little girl.
Yeah. Which is quite interesting, actually, for that to be occurring. And it's good to clarify what people are doing and why they're doing it, because we have to realise that we're all different. We're all different people. And what may be offensive or insulting to you or disrespectful to you is not to me.
Right, exactly.
And so she's saying it's disrespectful, which kind of implies that there's some intent behind what he's doing, that he's intentionally being this way. He's intentionally being condescending. He's intentionally treating her small. And it would be good to clarify if that's what he's intending to do.
Yeah.
First of all, it's easy to rush in with assumptions and you make me feel this way and you're doing this to me, when actually start with how you feel.
Yeah.
Take ownership of your interpretation of the situation. This is how it makes me feel. And then kind of give it back to them to say what their intent has been or is. I think it lowers defences that way if you go in with that kind of conversation rather than you're doing this to me, you know?
Definitely, it's going to put the other person, like, it's going to get their back up. When you say you've done this and you've done that, as you said, you're going to probably be met with like hostility or defensiveness. Whereas when you take ownership for when you say this, or when I hear you, even if when I hear you say this,
that's even better, I think. It's just taking it one step further back, isn't it?
Yeah. When I hear you say this,
Yeah.
this is what it makes me feel like, this is what it reminds me of, this is what it brings out in me.
And come with examples as well.
Yeah.
Examples of things that he says. So you can clearly demonstrate. It doesn't feel like it's something kind of like a wishy-washy statement over here. Like, come with evidence.
And I think make space for this conversation. So sometimes I think when we kind of just bring them things up without maybe having given it space or time, then the way we communicate it might not be clear as well. Whereas I think if you give this conversation some space, some time, get clear in your mind exactly what you hear and how you can reflect and communicate that to him, I think that should give you then better clarity, or give you both better clarity of what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Rather than, because I can imagine otherwise there could be a situation where you're in the moment and he does something or he says something and then you snap and it's like, this is you being disrespectful or...
And that's the worst time, isn't it? To raise a delicate issue, because emotions are just so high and intense, and then it can be really hard to reason and to connect. Then it becomes just about either proving each other wrong or or just winning the argument. But also, I would say also, be prepared to hear his side of the story and maybe even bring in how you respond or how you behave. That could also happen. So be prepared for that as well. Be prepared not just to tell him what he's doing wrong and asking him to stop, but him also giving you something back and saying, okay, I've also got some feedback for you.
Yeah.
And this is why I act in a certain way, or this is why I do this, or when you do this, this is why I do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So allow space to also hear what he has to say. If you're willing to dish it, you've got to be willing to hear it as well.
You do. It's and again, because when you have this conversation, it's not just about you.
Exactly.
It's not just about everything you have to say.
Yeah.
You're so right. There's going to be something that comes back. And also, you say that you feel like he treats you like a young child. This is me now I'm going to get a bit psychodynamic.
Go for it.
But I wonder, is there something that gets stirred up in you when you're with him? Do you think you maybe unconsciously go to that place as well?
Act as if you are a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, when, I know lots of people say this, I don't know if everyone has had this experience, but you maybe like you go to uni, you're living away from home, maybe you even do a master's, and maybe you're in that in-between period between like having like a full-time job and you might move back home. For some people, I know some people just stay at home anyway, but just say it's like a launch pad for you. And then suddenly you have to realise, oh my gosh, I've come back into my parents' house. And why is it that when I come back into their house, I act as if I'm a child again? And they treat me as if I'm a child, but I also act into that.
Revert back into that. Yeah, it happens a lot.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think it's natural because we get into familiar dynamics and patterns and ways of being with each other.
Yeah.
So if you're asking for an interruption to the system, an interruption to the dynamic, then you also have to play a part in that, in doing something different.
Yeah.
And it could just be as different as having this conversation, standing up for yourself, maybe having boundaries. You know, I'd appreciate if you just don't talk to me in that way. Or it could also be something a bit more like you were saying. Maybe there is something more to also how you're acting. You've got to be willing to explore that.
It's just reminding me of, you were talking, you know, when you were talking about going to uni, and it reminded me of when we were doing our clinical training on the counselling psychology course. We were doing our doctorate, and I think it was in our first year. I think it was in our first year or our second year, I can't remember. And I had not done very well on one of these papers, which was quite a big shock for me to not have done well, because I was like, well, I felt like I listened to the instructions of what they wanted and what they asked, and like I was in my mid-20s here as well, so I think I'm like an adult, or maybe a naive adult at this point.
Yeah, we were like 24, 25.
But I thought I kind of knew myself pretty well, not hugely well, but pretty well. And it really, really, really shook me. And I took it, because we were in therapy whilst we were training as well. I took it to my psychologist at the time, because what kept happening was, like, I had not done very well, and I think I had to redo like a certain part of it, but I was just getting no direction.
I remember this.
Yeah, with T.
I remember this.
I was just getting like no direction in what I needed to do to make it better.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was really, like, when I kept going up to him, like, and kept trying to ask him or trying to have meetings with him, like, it just was going nowhere. And when I took it to my psychologist, she really highlighted, like, this idea that I might be reverting back to, like, my younger self, needing direction, being quite needy.
Yeah.
And, like, what was that like for him? As a grown man, to experience like a woman coming up to him being quite needy or saying, give me direction, when he's trying to say to you, try and think and
empower you.
Yeah, he was actually trying to empower me and get me to think.
Yeah.
And I was like, just tell me the answer.
Yeah.
So it just reminded me a little bit of that. I don't know if like the sharing links in any way, but just this idea of how we
step into some roles.
And when we sometimes we might not be aware of the familiarity that is around us, that then gets triggered within us to go into these previous roles. But I found that really fruitful to then step into that more empowering place. And I remember then I was like, right, we're having a meeting. And then I went to him and I was like, this is what I think I should do. These are my ideas. And it was actually such a good conversation.
Yeah.
Something really good came out of it. And I just wonder if that's what is maybe going on between you and your dad. You know, you're saying that you're an adult with, you know, you're grown up with children, you're an adult. Does he see that as well? Have you stepped into that position with him? Or are you still his, like, little child, his little girl?
Yeah. There could be a myriad of different reasons or explanations for this.
Yeah.
But going in with that, I guess that confidence that you want to explore it, you want to reinstate your boundaries, and you want something to be different, I think.
And that he doesn't agree with your boundaries either.
No.
Yeah? So that's not necessarily what respect is Like when we're trying to get respect.
What do you mean?
So respect doesn't mean someone has to agree with your boundaries. I think sometimes people get confused that respect is actually somebody can respect my boundaries but disagree with them at the same time.
Yeah. And then it's up for you to decide what you do.
Yeah.
Moving forward, if you find that he is still disrespecting those boundaries. But at least this is a good start.
Yeah.
Having a conversation with him. So
good luck.
Yeah, good luck.
I hope it goes well.
Yeah.
And I hope you find a way to just build a relationship with him that feels more like you're on the same playing field. And it's not like a tennis match or a rally or something.
Yeah. All right, that's our dilemma. It feels weird just doing one dilemma.
I know.
Remember to like, comment and subscribe. Tell us what you've learned. Tell us what you'd like. We love to hear it. And we'll see you over on part 2 on the floor.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. This is Dr. Ritz.
And Dr. Vicky.
Remember to like, subscribe and follow us on our social media channels.